Hey y'all, this is Jamie. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another episode of Mickey and Makeup Mondays. Today we are going to be discussing some of my favorites, everything Disney related. And because we have this favorites theme, I thought that makeup wise, I would go ahead and share with y'all some of my favorite makeup products and put them on my face. So if you are excited about this Mickey and Makeup Monday, just keep watching. But before we get into that, make sure that you subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified when I upload a new video. Also be sure to give this a thumbs up if you like what you see. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so first things first, our shirt of the week. This one I've actually worn on my channel before, but this one right here is my blue Minnie Mouse shirt. I actually just recently bought this, so you can get this one, unlike the one that I showed last Monday, which was from 2007. This one is actually from this year. I just got it maybe a month or so ago from the Disney store online, so shopdisney.com. I will definitely leave a link in the description box to the shirt if it's still available, if you would like to go and get it yourself. One thing that I will say, this shirt runs a little bit on the short side. I would say it goes like basically to my hip bones. I like kind of longer shirts a little bit, so yeah, this one's a little bit shorter than I thought, but it has Minnie on the front, and what's really cute is that when you pull down the pocket, you can see the rest of Minnie's body kind of hidden below. It says Minnie on the pocket, and then on the back it has Minnie Mouse with a gigantic Minnie Mouse on it. So yeah, that is our shirt of the week. All right, also, I had a comment in my last week's video that I should have been pushing back my hair with a pair of Mickey ears, and I had thought about that as well, and I really want to, but surprisingly, I don't have a single pair of Mickey ears. I actually have been looking at a few shops on Etsy recently to get me a few pairs of ears. I actually think I might have one pair, but it's a Christmas pair that I got from, I think I got it from Hobby Lobby. But anyways, today I have my hair back anyway, so we won't need that, but I'm thinking about getting some Mickey ears and some headbands. I used to love headbands, and I used to wear them all the time. I found some really cute Disney headbands, so I might buy some of those as well. So they are coming. I will probably have them in a future video. So today's episode is all about my favorites. So I found some questions online kind of asking about favorites, and I picked a few and I put them into categories. We have characters, songs, movies, and parks. I have 5 questions for each of those categories that I'm going to be answering today. Because we're doing that and we're dealing with my Mickey favorites, I figured we would do my makeup favorites as well. So let's go ahead and get started, because that was a long intro and I'm trying to keep these short. I did keep my last video short. It was like a 10-minute review video and I was so proud of myself. So if you haven't seen that video, I did a review on the Pure Cosmetics Raw Beauty Kristi Pressed Pigment Palette. Say that 10 times fast. I will leave that up in the cards above if you haven't checked that out. It's a short one, so there you go. The first product I'm going to put on is a primer, and yes, I said primer. I don't wear them a lot, and I don't actually wear them for purposes that primers usually are worn for. This particular one, I just like this product, and it just so happens to be named a primer. This is the Henriksen Banana Bright Face Primer. We are going to get into our first category of Disney favorites, and that is characters. So I take that to mean like the Fab Five, or what are they called, the Sensational Six, and that's, you know, Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Daisy, Goofy, and Pluto. So I would say out of those, my favorite, it's not going to be much of a surprise, it's what probably most people would choose. It is Mickey. There's a reason why he's one of the most loved, if not the most loved character around the world. He's just precious, and I love him. And by the way, for y'all know, if you've watched any of my videos over the last like month or two, my favorite complexion product is the Pure 4-in-1 Tinted Moisturizer, but I've used that a lot in a lot of my recent videos. So I'm gonna go to one of my favorite foundations, and this is the Physicians Formula Silk Foundation Elixir. My favorite Disney princess is Pocahontas. Has been since Pocahontas came out. when I was 5 years old. I absolutely loved the movie. I loved the music. I loved Pocahontas because I felt like she was such an independent spirit. She didn't rely on a love interest to move her story forward. I love a good love story, and I love all the love interests in the Disney movies. So I'm not saying that, you know, I don't want them, because I do love them. But I like that her story was, like, her story could go on without that. I think that's one of the reasons why when they don't end up together, she and John Smith don't end up together at the end, it's not like a, oh my gosh, what did I just watch? This is an outrage. You know, it kind of makes sense with the story. She's an independent spirit who cares greatly about her family, her heritage, her people. And so I loved it. I understand completely that Pocahontas is not, the movie is not historically accurate, and I don't claim that it is. I do love Merida though, and I feel like I have more in common with Merida. So my favorite non-speaking animal is my favorite princess's little animal sidekick, Miko from Pocahontas. I think he is absolutely adorable. Food driven, of course. I relate to that. He's just pure and precious, but also slightly mischievous. All right, so for my concealer, I'm gonna use a new favorite. This is the Bare Minerals BarePro concealer. I have it in the shade light medium. Oh, and by the way, where did it go? The Physicians Formula foundation I have in the shade light to medium. This one to me is actually a really hard one because I like quite a few villains. Sassy Hades, gotta love. I also really like Dr. Facilier from Princess and the Frog. Gotta love Scar, I mean, come on. And there's the classic Ursula. I really don't know. I honestly don't know that I can answer that. I guess I would say Hades. Hades or Scar. No, but I feel like there are villains in which I'm like, but you gotta love him, you know? And I don't think Scar was one of those, because he killed Mufasa. As far as who I think is the most attractive, I would have to say either Prince Eric or Flynn Rider from Tangled. The fact that Flynn is voiced by Zachary Levi, that makes it even better. Naveen is also pretty cute. He's got those dimples. But as far as actual, like, personality, I think Flynn is probably my favorite. And I think that that's because he's a little more current, so I feel like they've been trying to make love interests have their own story as well in the recent films. So, you know, Eric was just kind of like there to be the love interest to Ariel. But I feel like nowadays they kind of have developed characters all around. So I think that's kind of what makes Flynn my favorite. He was a good like 20 years after Eric, and so kind of in the days in which they started doing more with the love interests and giving them more of a background, more of a personality. But moving on to bronzer, you probably all know my favorite. It's the same favorite as almost everybody else's. So this is the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. I have the shade Sunkissed. We're gonna move on to favorite songs. And that is an easy one for me. That is Stand Out by Tevin Campbell, AKA, oh my gosh, why can't I think of his name? Frontline, no. Lifeline. Powerline. From a Goofy movie. I just rediscovered that song. I remember when I watched it, because I think I was around 5 or 6 when a Goofy movie came out, and I remember watching it as a kid and loving the part where they're at the assembly and Max and his friends take over the assembly and he starts performing to that song. And I remember loving the music. I remember loving the song, but I couldn't have sung the song for you if you asked. And I was like, I remember loving that song, let me listen to it. And so like a few months ago, I would say like 2 or 3 months ago, I went back and I listened to the song and I fell in love with it all over again. To me, it's so 90s, but I love 90s music. So 90s music is one of my favorite times of music, so that's probably why I love it so much. So I would highly recommend, if you do not remember that song, or if you're like, what's he talking about? Go listen to that song. I really like I Won't Say I'm in Love from Hercules, because I feel like it's not like your normal love song of just like being totally in love, you know, after 2 seconds of seeing somebody, which Again, I enjoy those love songs. I enjoy those movies, so I'm not like knocking those. But I always think it's cool when you see something that's kind of different. Love is an Open Door is also a favorite of mine, even though, as we all know, Hans was a poo-poo head, which makes that song not as fun. And this blush that I'm using is Essence. This new brand Essence. It's the Essence the Blush. Oh my god. Is Essence the Blush, and this is in the shade Befitting. One of my favorites. Well, obviously, duh, Jamie. This whole video is of your favorites. So, I actually came up with this question on my own because I feel like I may have gone a little overboard with that. Yep. Initially, it was just favorite song, and I didn't want to do that, so I changed it to favorite soundtrack. One of my favorite soundtracks, which again I think is kind of an underrated soundtrack all around, is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. So it has some of the most beautiful music and composition and musical score of any Disney movie. Music is another passion of mine and always has been, and my sister kind of gave me this appreciation for musical scores. So the music that's playing in the background, stuff that is composed specifically for that movie or specifically for that TV show. Hunchback of Notre Dame, the music completely sets the tone, and it's so beautiful, and it has this same like minor key, like kind of eerie feel to it. I really love it. One of my favorite instrumental pieces in any song ever is from the song Heaven's Light, Hellfire. It's kind of the transition from Heaven's Light, sung by Quasimodo, to Hellfire, sung by Frollo. And it's just that, it's like the musical interlude. The instrumental piece is like, it's my favorite instrumental part of any song ever. Hunchback of Notre Dame is my favorite. My favorite villain song. This one is a lot easier for me to answer than the favorite villain question. My favorite villain song, without a doubt, it has actually overtaken what used to be my favorite villain song, which was Be Prepared from The Lion King. It is Friends on the Other Side, sung by Dr. Facilier from Princess and the Frog. Loud. I love that song. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Milani Soft Focus Glow. I'm actually using a highlighter today. I haven't used a highlighter in months, but this is my favorite one when I do use it, and it's actually not even like a highlighter. It's a complexion enhancer. Okay, so I don't actually have a least favorite song, but I do have a least favorite thing that is done for a lot of these movie soundtracks. I don't like hearing whatever current pop star do a rendition of a song that's in the movie, if that makes any sense. So for instance, when we're going back to the early 90s, when Celine Dion sang Beauty and the Beast, I prefer Angela Lansbury's Mrs. Potts version. When Elton John, I don't prefer his version of Can You Feel the Love Tonight. I prefer the version that's sung in the movie. If you want a more recent example, Demi Lovato did Let It Go for the Frozen soundtrack. I don't really like that version. I prefer Idina Menzel's Elsa's version. There is one exception though. One exception to it is actually Panic at the Disco's Into the Unknown from Frozen 2. I love that song. Brendon Urie's voice is just amazing, and I love it so much. And it's not necessarily the voices, it's a lot of time the actual music. It's like they change the music so much so it doesn't sound like a Disney song. Anyways, ramble over. So our next category of questions is movies. But I will give my top 3 favorite Disney movies. So I love The Lion King, I love Hercules, and I love Tangled. Those are 3 favorite movies that will not be answers to any of my other movie questions. My favorite Pixar movie is probably either Brave or The Incredibles. I like Brave and The Incredibles. My least favorite Pixar movie, I would have to say it's a tie between WALL-E. WALL-E it takes a long time to get started, and it's just kind of boring for the first like third of the film. And then Inside Out. Inside Out I think is a well-made, it's a quality movie, and if it got any awards, I do think it deserved them. But it just, to me, it's not an enjoyable movie. It's too realistic, almost. It's like, it's sad. And I'm like, where's all the happiness? And it's like, there's happy parts at the very beginning, happy parts at the very end. But in between, it's just like, oh, negative thing happens. While we're trying to fix this negative thing, something else negative happens. Oh, we're trying to fix this negative thing, something else negative happens. And it just kind of continues like that. It's just, I don't know. So for my eyeshadow, I'm going to be using the Chantilly Cosmetics Suns Out Buns Out palette. It's perfect because it's summertime and I wish that I was here. So I'm going to go in with the shade Red, y'all, into my crease. Sorry, if my face looks red, it's because it's actually getting red for some reason. So it's not just the blush, and it's not like I've got too much blush on. This cheek right here is just getting really red. Favorite underrated movie would have to be Atlantis, The Lost Empire. And back in June, I watched Atlantis, The Lost Empire, and I hadn't seen it probably in a good 10 to 15 years. I would say I've only seen that movie maybe once or twice. It was kind of a flop at the box office, and I think they were even gonna have, right before it came out, they even had plans to do different projects at the theme parks that were Atlantis themed, thinking that it was gonna be their next big film, and it just ended up flopping at the box office, so it kind of faded away into obscurity. I loved it. I thought it was so good. I loved the story. I loved the characters. I know they do have a second one, which I don't think I've ever seen the sequel. This one might be controversial, and I'm not actually saying that I don't like this movie, because I actually really do. I love the soundtrack. It's my niece's favorite movie. It is not in my top 5 favorite Disney movies, and that is Frozen. So I guess it's not necessarily, I don't think it's necessarily overrated, but it's not one of my favorite movies. But I can understand 100% why kids nowadays love it. Now I'm gonna go in with Sandcastle right here into the outer edges. Now I don't know the exact first Disney movie that I ever saw. I will say that the first Disney movie that I ever saw in theaters was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They obviously were reshowing it since I was not alive in 1937. My mom and dad took me to see it. Apparently, the best way to get me to sit still and watch a movie is to just put a big tub of popcorn in front of me. I'm gonna go into the shade Tan Lines down here and put that all over my lid. So our next category is theme parks. So I have only been to Walt Disney World in Orlando. As I was saying in my last video, there are 6 of them all around the world. There's Disneyland in Anaheim, California, Walt Disney World. There's the Tokyo Disney Resort. There's Hong Kong, Shanghai, and then there's Disneyland Paris. My favorite park out of those that are in Orlando, which is Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, and Epcot, I would say my favorite. We all love Magic Kingdom because that is quintessential Disney. That makes us feel like we're in a Disney park. But I would say the thing that makes me feel the most like, that I love just walking in and looking at everything, just the ambiance, the environment, the music, is probably Animal Kingdom. I think it has the best feel. Magic Kingdom feels very magical. I feel like Animal Kingdom is this whole immersive experience. Yeah, Animal Kingdom is my favorite park. So because I didn't want to pick just one, I decided to pick one from each park. We're going to start at Animal Kingdom. My favorite ride at Animal Kingdom is Dinosaur, which used to be called Countdown to Extinction. I absolutely love that ride. It's one of the most thrilling rides at Walt Disney World. Then going over to Hollywood Studios, we'll do that one next. I really like Rock and Roller Coaster. Keep in mind, I have not been to Disney World since Galaxy's Edge opened, so I've never ridden Smuggler's Run or Rise of the Resistance. I haven't been since Toy Story Land opened, so I've never ridden Slinky Dog Dash or the Alien Swirling Saucers. So yeah, Hollywood Tower of Terror is my least favorite ride in all of Disney World. Rock and Roller Coaster with Aerosmith is my favorite ride at Hollywood Studios. For Epcot, I would have to say Soarin'. I love just walking around World Showcase though. We did that the last time we were there and I absolutely loved it. And then a favorite at Magic Kingdom, I love Mickey's PhilharMagic. I love Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion. Those are good ones. Yeah, Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean. I have two favorite shows actually. The first one is at Animal Kingdom, and that is the Festival of the Lion King. Amazing. Amazing. And then my absolute favorite is Fantasmic over at Hollywood Studios. The show that's out like on the water, and they have a lot of like barges that come through, actors and projection and fountain waterworks and some imagination, huh? It makes me cry. You can watch those on YouTube, so I watch it a lot. I'm not gonna lie. So my favorite thing about the parks is actually the music. I love the area music that's playing. So like the music that you hear when you walk into the parks and are just walking around. That's one of my favorite things about the parks. And I actually listen to that on a daily basis. I have playlists on Spotify that I listen to. I bring up videos on YouTube. I absolutely love it. Like the music that's playing on Main Street USA, that's some of my favorite. Main Street USA and Tomorrowland tend to be my favorite, that make me feel the most like, oh, I'm at Disney World. This, by the way, is the Essence Instant Volume Boost Mascara. Honestly, I kind of wish that we had their version of Fantasmic. Back in 2017, Fantasmic went down, and it was like down for like a year or so, and when it came back, it was this whole new show using pretty much the same music, but it was just elevated and brought kind of into this newer, technologically advanced age. I would like to ride the Matterhorn bobsleds, and then the Alice in Wonderland. They have an Alice in Wonderland dark ride over there as well. I am going to put on my Pout Bomb Plumping Lip Gloss. This is the shade Cookie. And here we go. This is the final look with my favorite makeup products. Alright, so that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys really enjoyed this, getting to know me a little bit more, my Disney likes, dislikes. I didn't have too many dislikes, let's be honest. If you would like to answer any of these questions yourself, feel free to do that in the comments down below. Let me know your favorites, your likes, your dislikes, whether it's with theme parks, movies, songs, characters. I would love to know, and I would love to hear from you guys. Also, remember to subscribe if you haven't already, and